What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the Coinist podcast. No shills, no nonsense. The best place to get your crypto info about what's happening in the market. In 2020, one of the best performing coins has been Tezos. It's up like 150% versus the dollar, 100% versus Bitcoin, and a lot of questions about why is it doing so well, at least for me. I've never invested, I've never traded in Tezos, and I wanted to have on an investor, James Todaro. He runs a hedge fund with two of his brothers. Pretty interesting story there. He's been publicly bullish, and they've been long Tezos since way last year when things were down, when things were very sold off, and now he's reaping those rewards. So with that coin doing so well, I wanted to have on an investor to talk me through the bullish case for Tezos, why they're also bullish on ZEC. They're a fund that is publicly bullish on a lot of these large cap altcoins when some people are very bearish or only Bitcoin maximalists. So hopefully you guys learned something. They've been around since 2013, 2014. They've seen quite a few cycles, so you can always take some insights from those investors who have seen it all. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. One quick thought. The audio is absolutely booming. We're hitting new all-time highs every single month for people listening to this show. So if you do like the podcast, check out the Apple and the Spotify link right down below. If you want to listen to it on the go, every single week, I try to have on top investors, analysts, exchanges, no nonsense, no random kid in his basement saying the top 5 coins do 100x, right? Information that will actually help you here in crypto. And also, before we get into the show, which we're right about to kick off, one quick message from 3 companies who make this show possible every single week. I love working with them. I think that you'll enjoy them as well. eToro, worldwide leader in social trading. If you're based in the US, go check them out. Go to etoro.com/venturecoinist. Links right down below this video. Also check out Bybit Exchange. If you're an active trader, you'd like to trade Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, you can trade it both directions. You can long and short, and they have a killer mobile app. Check them out, Bybit. You get a deposit bonus, my link right down below, and CryptoTrader.tax. If you've bought and sold any crypto, I know that taxes aren't fun, but if you bought and sold any crypto in the last year or this year, check them out. They automate your taxes for you. Click the link, seriously, right down below this, CryptoTrader.tax. Your taxes are done in 5 minutes. It's that easy. It's free to get set up. Now enjoy the show, guys, and remember, be sure to subscribe. Also, we're going to start doing some giveaways again on this channel, so if you're tuning in, you might have some Bitcoin coming your way. Subscribe, hit that like button, and enjoy the show. We should be live. I'm joined by James Todaro. Thanks for coming on the show, James. How are you?
Good. How are you, Luke?
Doing all right. I was joking with you. If this audio goes bad or if people don't like this episode, I'm just going to message one of your brothers and we'll run it right back. You work
there's a lot of scenarios you can go through, so there's a lot of trial runs you can do.
Exactly.
And maybe they're better as you go through the lineup.
So you work with your 2 brothers at a fund or business. I'm not sure everything Blocktown Cap does, but yep. What's that like? I have an older brother too. I've dragged him into crypto a little bit, but getting to work with your brothers is probably a pretty unique experience you got going.
It is, and it's great for a couple of different things. So first of all, we trust each other a lot. So we can always and we're not afraid to challenge each other in any way. And so we kind of hear the raw thoughts off each other. And it's also great during bear markets to have a very close circle that are as heavily invested in the space as we are. It's really what I think kept us together in investing in crypto in the bear market of 2014, 2015, which we kind of entered just before that started. And so I think that it's worked out well for us.
So you've made it through a couple bear and now currently bull cycles. All 3 brothers.
I'm glad you say that.
Confirmed. all three brothers still in it. The company's still together. You guys must be doing something right.
Yeah, I think so.
What's the best way to describe what Blocktown Cap does? Mostly VC? Is it mostly hedge fund? Mostly kind of short-term trading? What's the best way to categorize?
Sure. So right now it's a GP-only fund, and it's different from a lot of the other funds in the fact that we actually invest exclusively in exchange-traded digital currencies and assets. And it's not short-term. We're usually looking at holding investments for 1 to 2 years, sometimes 1 to 3 years, with the exception being Bitcoin. We do maintain a fairly large position in Bitcoin that we hold or will maybe kind of trade that in some degree. But at the same time, we do look heavily at altcoins. And so I think that's really what differentiates us from a lot of the other funds that are either doing kind of equity plays. And I think over the last year, we've seen a kind of movement toward becoming Bitcoin maximalists, Ethereum maximalists,
sure,
and then investing in equity positions in layers building on top of those. Whereas we're still looking very closely at the token market.
Sure. And there's been, it seems like a large consolidation of funds. Well, they started off as hedge funds and then they went VC because they basically were just
Sure.
investing in these pre-network tokens. And then it seemed last year a lot of funds just switched to almost a maximalist view of a fund, right? They're only investing in Bitcoin, or they're somehow adding leverage to Bitcoin, or they're somehow getting a Bitcoin yield. It seems like it's almost a unique thing again. It's like it wasn't in 2017. Now it's unique to be investing in alts and in Bitcoin.
So I think that if you just look at the overall psychology of the market, it kind of is a little bit of the crowd moving that direction. So you had this over exuberance in 2017,
Sure.
where altcoins were just pumping beyond imagination, and then after that, it kind of gets back to fundamental value. A lot of those projects fell 95, 99%. Bitcoin, sitting at 50% right now, and a lot of those are still down 90, 95%. And so you see this movement where people are either just chasing the price, which I think that's maybe some of the simplest way to people look at the market, or they're chasing fundamental value now. And I think that's what a lot of the fund managers are doing, is they're looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum and saying, well, these have fundamental value. No other projects have fundamental value. So I'm going to invest in those specific projects or equity positions in projects building on them. And I think that will change again. And I think we'll go through the full cycle again, and we'll have a lot of the other digital assets that'll continue to do very well. And I don't really see what's changed from 2013, 2014, 2016, 2017, and now. I think that the altcoin market is still largely retail driven, and that interest is going to come back to it.
Sure. Some of those things are going to remain the same for a while. It's important, I think, for everyone listening, and this is going to make the conversation a bit interesting, because so many market participants in crypto got in sometime in 2017, right? So they've lived through at least one bull, at least one pretty vicious bear cycle for a lot of altcoins. You've seen it quite a few times. And let's get right into the meat of this whole discussion, and the reason I wanted to have you on. There's been a contentious kind of view going on about alts are doing very well right now to start off 2020. This is coming on the back end of last year, where Bitcoin led the entire rally, right? Alts couldn't keep up. They weren't acting as a higher beta play. With alts doing so well to kick off January, you have some fund managers and some traders that are saying, this is insane. I cannot believe that people are jumping back into alts and falling for this trap again, right? Looking at coins like ZEC or XTZ, Tezos, that's doing incredibly well. And there's some fund managers that are fully embracing it and saying, look, this is just kind of a rebalancing effect of the market. People are kind of moving back into some alts. Dominance is going to fall. There's more optimism about these things. You are bullish on ZEC and Tezos, but before we get into those, what's your view on the general alt market, right? Are we going to see another year like 2019 where Bitcoin just leads and every other alt kind of lags, or are we actually going to see something where alts can reclaim some dominance and have a sustained rally?
Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of the long answer, and then I'll give you the short answer.
Sure.
So the long answer is, I think that, so people are always talking about, where's the fundamental value in this space? And I think that you can sit there. So a lot of people say, well, Bitcoin, especially over this past year, after seeing that vicious bear market, they'll say, well, Bitcoin has fundamental value, and Ethereum might also have a seed of fundamental value. And that may be true at this point, but I think the narratives, there's a lot of narratives in this space that do have fundamental value. And some of those are privacy, censorship resistance, in the case of censorship resistant money, which is Bitcoin. You have, I think, prediction market, so censorship resistant prediction market has value. Decentralized finance, that as well. And so each of these narratives has value, and I think that each of these coins or projects there's a 99% chance they won't be able to fulfill that narrative. But there's always that chance that one of them might. And so what we like to do is invest in the projects that stand the best chance at fulfilling that narrative, or those specific narratives that have fundamental value. And in our experience over the last cycle, those coins tend to outperform the average market. And they also tend to lose their value much more slowly than, say, a lot of the purely speculative plays.
Sure.
So I think that, kind of like what I alluded to earlier, I think that you're going to see a lot of new retail interest come into the market, and they're going to be looking at those powerful narratives and what the best investments are in it. And you're going to see a lot of those projects do very well. That's still not to say that a lot of them won't fail. A lot of them will. But by investing in the best projects that fulfill those narratives with real value, you stand a chance at not missing the next Ethereum, the next project that does fulfill its goal.
Sure. Last year, I think that was the missing part. This is my opinion, once again. Who knows if it's right? The missing part of alts keeping pace with Bitcoin, potentially outpacing and having any kind of sustained move, was that there was no increased retail entrance. I don't think there was,
okay.
You could see it across social media accounts. That's a kind of a roundabout way to measure that. You could look at how many new people were coming to exchanges. There wasn't some big moment where there's a mass influx of new retail. What do you think changed that this year? Is it halving some people are talking about? Is it Bitcoin breaking 10K and that magical number that kind of did that in 2017? What changes it this year? Are those narratives enough to bring in new retail? I look at DeFi and I'm like, I don't think that's exciting enough for new retail to come in. What are your thoughts?
Correct. Yeah, so it's always tough to say, but one thing I would say is I feel like one of the things that kicks it off is Bitcoin reaches a certain price, like you said, maybe it's 10K, where then people start funneling those profits into altcoins. I wonder almost with the halving approaching, if investors are kind of waiting to see what Bitcoin does leading up to that halving, and then we'll cycle into alts. If you compare a little bit to, if you remember from, I think it was March 2017, everyone was waiting for the Bitcoin ETF decision, I think. And when that was ultimately rejected, and so Bitcoin and a lot of the alts crashed very briefly, and then altcoins actually began to do phenomenally well. And that kind of kicked off the start. By June or July, a lot of them have gone up 5-10x in value. And so I almost wonder if it's similar like this, where people are waiting for that action from the halving, and then we'll go into it. The other thing that kind of also coincidentally happened in March, April 2017 is Bitcoin had just about touched its previous all-time high. I think that's another period where people will then start cycling that money into alts. I think it's potentially a little bit early to say for sure that this alt action will be sustainable. I think, though, that this year and essentially over the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see a lot of action with altcoins.
All right, let's dive into one of your specific thesis. This is what I was excited to chat about, because there's a little bit of a stir on Twitter. There's some traders, obviously, who are short ZEC or really bearish on Zcash, and then you're looking at it. You're long. You are bullish. You understand there's value in that privacy narrative. What's the big picture, high time frame, macro bullish case for ZEC? Sure.
So I think to go in a little bit of a backstory, what kind of caught our attention first was Zcash, is because Zcash has had a terrible couple of years.
Oh yeah, awful. I've never owned it. Full disclosure, I've never owned it. I still haven't, because this is as long as I've been in crypto. I've looked at the chart. It just goes down every single week for Bitcoin.
Right.
And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, someone knows something more than I do. I'm not going to try to be the hero here.
Yep. So that actually is what really drew us to take a close look at Zcash about the middle of last year. Is we basically said, why is this asset that has a lot of brand recognition, has a strong development team, and really was the first cryptocurrency to deploy this exciting technology of zero-knowledge proofs, why did it go down 95%? And I think what had happened is Zcash was born in 2016, so you had 1 year where investors were very excited about it, as it was an exciting project, and really, I'd say, exhausted their appetite for Zcash. And then you have the bear market start in 2018, just one short year later. And what you essentially have now is Zcash in January 2018 still had an issuance supply, so an inflation rate of about 100%. So its supply was going to double. And this is in a bear market, prices are crashing. I think there's just tremendous sell pressure from that issuance supply. And so it's a perfect recipe, increased inflation, match with the bear market, for an asset to lose 95% or more of its value. Mm-hmm. Now I think that's turned around for two reasons. So one, I think that we are starting to see fresh money, fresh capital come into altcoins. And number two, this is Zcash's first halving coming up. So its inflation rate right now, or issuance rate, is about 30%. After the halving in October 2020, it'll be down at 12.5%. So you have this early bull market matched with a decreased supply, and I think that it's going to do very well for Zcash. Secondly, kind of from just a investor psychology thing, is I think privacy will continue to be an important narrative in this space. So investors will continually want exposure to privacy. I think one of the main ways they're going to do this, again, is still by investing in privacy coins, and there's not many of them. Besides Zcash, there's Monero, Grin. I don't even think Dash really counts as a privacy coin anymore, and maybe a couple of others. And so Zcash really has still the best brand recognition. Every single time ZK Snarks is mentioned, it's usually Zcash is following along with it. They're the first ones to deploy it. And so I think you're going to have a lot of attention for it, and a lot of those investors will gravitate towards Zcash. And not to mention that it has the best, I'd still say, the best privacy tech out there. And they have a well-funded development team now.
Yeah, one of the points I want to push back, because I know you know more about Zcash than I do. One of the points I've seen brought up is people will say, well, since shielded transactions or private transactions aren't default, and most of the transactions happening here are unshielded, right? People should just use Monero. What's your thoughts on, will multiple privacy coins exist, or what's kind of the view there?
So I think this goes a little bit into the idea of you don't want to go too far, maybe into fundamental analysis too early, in the sense of looking for too much adoption. Because I would say that the demand for it is, demand for privacy is not quite there yet. I think that the people that truly want privacy are comfortable enough with the different ways to do so in Bitcoin. I think that's why we've seen the darknet markets, still they're predominantly transacted in Bitcoin among the other cryptocurrencies. I think Monero has a little bit of penetration, Zcash probably even less. So I think the real demand for privacy coins is not quite there yet. And so a lot of this interest is still on what type of privacy can be built into the core protocol. This was a debate I had with one of the other fund managers that's shorting Zcash, was with the release of Aztec. So Aztec is a protocol that's built on top of Ethereum that's offering basically a stable coin that uses zero knowledge proofs. And I will be watching it closely, and if demand is really picking up, if people are really using ZK DAI for privacy, and then that's something that we want to keep a close eye on. But I think that we're still building into seeing what we can build into these privacy protocols. And so whether shielded transactions picks up significantly this year or not, I don't know if that would greatly change my investment thesis unless something like ZK DAI is taking off.
Okay. I mean, fundamentals, you look across the market, I would even make the case that fundamentals make up a very small percentage of why these things are moving anyway. So I understand that point.
And the one thing with fundamentals I would say is, because people will cycle between, oh, well, it's just all speculation. You can just, throw a dart at something and it might go. But I think that the ones with fundamental value, they tend to stay up during the peak a little bit longer than the Denta coins, which will lose 90% of their value in a few days if they're weak. And regarding an appreciation for market cycles, which I think you have to do if you're investing in the altcoin market, it gives you that little bit of extra time that can be crucial to decrease your exposure to them.
That makes sense. Thinking about the bearish case once more, because I like the rebuttal. I was listening to, it was a while back, Joel Manugro was talking about, he wasn't even talking about privacy features, but he was looking at ETH and saying, it doesn't matter if Tron tries to be faster or whatever else tries to be faster. I don't know what platform he said, but it was this idea that across blockchains, these features are going to be commoditized, right? So Bitcoin will add privacy, or ETH will add privacy, and then the need for privacy coins is eradicated. We won't need privacy coins if Bitcoin has whatever it is that makes it private. What's the long-term view there? Is that actually viable, that Bitcoin and ETH will have these privacy features and it makes these things useless?
It's possible. I wouldn't rule that out. I think that in the short term, during these early cycles where there isn't maybe a whole lot of fundamental value to each project, I think we're going to see still a lot of different coins and platforms and different smart contract platforms. But I do think in the long run, we're going to coalesce around one or two, maybe Bitcoin, and then maybe a smart contract platform that does have privacy at the base layer, at the core protocol. That's possible. Maybe Zcash will somehow merge with Ethereum. I know Zcash and the Ethereum team work kind of closely together.
Yep. And
so who knows what will become of that. But I think you're really looking at 3 years or more for that to happen. And a lot can happen in crypto in that time frame.
Oh yeah. This month is a testament to that. I guess the only other thing I have about ZEC before I ask about Tezos is when's the ZEC stock to flow chart going to come out? I'm waiting to see it. I'm waiting for another project to come out with the stock to flow on their coin. The ball's been in their court for a while.
Well, yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
All right, I'll be watching the blog. All right, Tezos. Tezos is the next one. This got a ton of attention. Last year, I think it was up like 300%, where most of the market ended pretty poorly. I'm just talking about the end of the year performance. So I know that
Gotcha, yep.
a bit of an arbitrary number there, but
Sure.
it stands out, right? A lot of alts were down. Bitcoin kind of flat or down, and then you have Tezos, or up slightly, I should say, 100%. But when you compare it to Tezos, who's up 200% or 300%, it looked like it was down, right? Why has Tezos done so well? Why is Tezos capturing so much attention? Is it only because of this baking and this staking, or is there something bigger here? I haven't done enough research into Tezos. I'm looking to understand why people are so bullish Tezos.
So I think what attracts our interest a lot is when something goes down a lot in value that has certain recognition and the technology as well as the brand, and then also when there's a lot of FUD around a project. And so Tezos had a rough launch nearing the end of 2018. They, I think, due to regulation, were compelled to KYC all their ICO investors. And so that drew a lot of criticism. And then secondly, they had that legal battle between the Tezos Foundation and the inventors of the coin, the Brightmans. And so a lot of people thought that the project was almost dead or stalled. And to us, when you actually dug into the technology and what was going on, it did not look like that at all. So that's why we kept a close eye on it, and we've been invested in it for about a year now. Moving forward, so essentially I would say it was undervalued in the crypto world. It's undervalued. And what we're seeing now today, it looks like Tezos is kind of carving out its market in STOs, security token offerings. I don't know how sustainable that'll be or if they will get real traction and adoption in that market. But so that could be partially contributing to it. I think just these smart contract platforms, large cap coins tend to do pretty well after Bitcoin does a run up. And so I think Tezos was undervalued compared to some of the other ones.
I'm really curious how long it seemed like the staking trend and Tezos might have kicked it off. Right? You have exchanges rushing to announce they're going to support baking on exchange, and then other coins that have staking, it seemed like they caught a tailwind of doing well. This was almost like a theme in 2017. I remember masternodes being so big. People were saying, man, if I can buy a Dash masternode, it's going to churn out $250K a year. I don't ever have to work again. And then obviously that died down, right?
Yeah.
Does that eventually die down for Tezos, or does baking and staking, does that have legs?
I think that, so I remember with Dash, I had 3 masternodes in Dash at one point. It was very exciting to seeing those rewards coming in.
Oh yeah.
And I think that basic excitement is still there, where you have an account or something that's staking, you just see this interest paid out, and you're just accumulating that coin. Now, whether you're really accumulating, I mean, the market cap, the supply of that coin is going up. So from that perspective, you're not necessarily actually getting much ground compared to the overall market. But in terms of how many of that coins, I think that's exciting. And so I think that will continue to be exciting to people. And so this staking narrative for Cosmos or Tezos, I think will continue to have traction, at least during this rally.
Yeah, I've just been, it seems like there is a serious community too building with Tezos. It's like randomly, coins will kind of have these cult followings. Obviously XRP I always point to as an example, XRP army.
Yep.
I don't mean any harm, don't attack me. You have ETH obviously as a big community, they've been around the longest as one of the altcoins.
Yep.
And then Tezos and Link, it's funny, like random communities will pop up. Does that play a big role when you're filtering this? Yeah, the Link Marines, yeah. And then you have Tezos now. I mean, if you mention Tezos on Twitter, your mentions blow up. I can't even check mentions for hours. Is that one of the pieces that you look at when you're kind of sorting through these coins? Are you looking at how big the community is?
For sure. So community is an important factor, seeing how much interest in. There's different ways to gauge this. We like to see not just people that are trading it, but actually people that really seem like they're kind of holders, or they're loyal to the community and the project. That's always a plus.
I guess also that incentive for those people to hold now and bake plays a role.
Right.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling.
And then to add to that, exchanges, since they're offering baking and so much is done on them, they have to continue to buy a certain percentage. I forgot exactly what that percentage is, but whatever they're baking, they have to own 10% of the tokens to be able to do that. So they have some buy pressure as collateral, correct, in the bond.
Makes sense. It's going to be really fun to see not only because people, listeners and myself might be holding some of these coins in the future, trying to watch them appreciate, but also because there's a little bit of this battle now going on publicly of people that are short Tezos and short ZEC, you guys that are long. It's going to be fun to watch unfold. Is there any narratives or themes that you think the market is discounting or isn't paying attention to yet? I ask because in 2017 and 2018, it was like scalability and everything's, you could put scalability in your white paper and it would do well. Then you have 2018, 2019 comes around. It looks like exchange coins have really been the biggest benefactor. What's 2020 about? And I don't, people say DEX, people say privacy. Is there a theme that people aren't looking at?
I think that people aren't looking at. So I think the ones that they are already looking at. So I think privacy is always a big theme. Decentralized finance, that's gotten plenty of attention recently. So I think that's a big theme. I think that, I know you just talked with Joey Krug on this show not too long ago, one of the founders of Augur, so I won't hit on it too much. But I think that the value of a censorship-resistant prediction market is a good theme, and Augur is still the leading project in that space. And we have a big election year coming up. It's one of the most controversial elections in the past, probably the past decade or longer. And prediction markets historically do very well during U.S. elections. And so just real briefly to go on about Augur is, I think it's interesting. But so before Bitcoin, there was centralized versions of digital currency that they're trying to get traction. There was Liberty Reserve and Eagle, right? And so they started to get traction, but then the government shut them down. And then Bitcoin came about. And the reason Bitcoin wasn't shut down is because it was decentralized. It really couldn't. It was censorship resistant. And I think we're seeing a little bit of this play out in the prediction market world. In 2012, we saw InTrade, which was a prediction market based, legally operated in Ireland, that had about $230 million of volume go through that. And it drew the attention of the US government, and so they shut it down. And so the world is sitting there kind of demanding or wanting this global prediction market, and they can't really have it. Now, a lot of prediction markets don't allow US or predict it, where they operate under a little academic clause where they can limit the amount of bets. And so I think there is real value to that. And so I think that Augur is a good play in these things, especially with this 2020 election year at the end of the year, and then Augur is coming out with their new user interface and all that. I think it's exciting.
Have you seen the Trump coin that just came out on FTX? Did
no,
you see that?
But it's no, I did not. But it's funny because I remember when the first version of Trump coin came out back in, I think it was 2016, before he was even elected. And there was I just remember looking at the Bitcoin Talk forums because a lot of announcements were being made there, where people were saying, if he gets elected, this coin will go through the roof.
What was the premise? What was the premise?
It was 2016, 2017. It wasn't
just a random ERC. Yeah.
I think there was a thought that Trump might notice this coin and then tweet about it, and then that would rise the value up dramatically. But yeah, so this must be Trump Coin 2.0 that's coming out now.
No, so this is actually a bit of a play on betting markets. So it's almost like it almost works like a predict it. Sam at FTX just launched it.
Okay.
And they're always launching.
So there's something more real behind it.
No, there's a real mechanic. So it's based on the value is based on the probability that he wins. So it's a way to play the election. It pays out $1 if he's elected. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but I think it's priced like 53 cents right now, or whatever it was. So it's almost like you're just trying to create a more liquid form of predicted or whatever else. So
interesting. I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I had not heard of it.
Yeah. It'll be at least more fun. Well, the old Trump coin sounds pretty fun to track as well. I'm going to be searching the forums and looking for that
one. So other themes that it might not be getting as much attention right now. So Ren, are you familiar with Ren at all? Have you
a little bit,
heard of them?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a project we've been following for a year. We did a pretty long piece on it about a year and a half ago. And they're kind of satisfying a couple different narratives. So besides just liquidity and decentralized finance and privacy, they also have interoperability, which I think is pretty neat technology. Is you can use this Ren virtual machine to actually do atomic swaps from one chain to another. So you can use DAI to in exchange for real Bitcoin. So you can put in DAI and then get Bitcoin at a real address, not just a wrapped version of Bitcoin. And I think this idea of interoperability, at least until, like I said, many years down the road, we kind of coalesce around maybe one or two chains, I think will be a theme that also gains traction.
When you're thinking about these themes and you're thinking about these plays, are you at all worried about looking at the halving and saying if Bitcoin goes another run like it did in 2019, these plays are going to underperform significantly? They could get crushed kind of in value. They're going to be basically flat in dollar terms. Is that something you're considering? Is the halving a pretty big piece of your cycle timing this year?
No, not really. So we hold altcoins for usually, like I said, longer than a year, or even up to 2 years. So we're not trading these, every 3 months or based in 6 months. So any prediction I make about the halving is not really affecting the way we invest. We kind of will use TA and some of the basic stuff to just determine when to get in these positions. But once we're in them, we usually don't really sell them for a while. So even if the altcoins don't do well in the next 3 months, let's say this fizzles out, it really doesn't change my thesis at all, I would say. But I think overall for 2020, it's going to be a great year for these coins.
Got it. The narratives are longer term then.
Yes, correct.
All right, cool. Got it. Well, James, appreciate you coming on. I think the audio worked. Like I said, if it didn't, I'm going to message your brother. When I was researching for this show, I was trying to read your blog, trying to keep up with your tweets, and it must have been 5 times I click on either Joseph's or I click on your other
John.
brothers. Yeah, John. I click on
I got a sister that's floating out there too.
Do you?
She's a dentist though.
Oh, okay. I was going to say if she's in crypto and it's Jennifer, I was going to lose it, man.
No.
Well, good deal. Good deal. Thanks for coming on. And yeah, of course. And where can people follow you? Because I know there's always some people listening that say, I want to keep following along. You're on Twitter, James Todaro, but you have a blog as well. Yeah.
So 2 things. So actually, my Twitter account is James Todaro MD. James Todaro was already taken by some no coiner.
Someone squatting.
Someone squatting. And then my blog, so you can follow Blocktown Capital. Blocktown. We publish a lot of our research under there, and we have a couple of reports that will be coming out in the next month.
Good deal. The Zcash one is, like I said, that's what led to this conversation. So check that out if you're listening. James, once again, thanks for coming on, man. It'll be fun to watch these narratives play out.
It will. Thanks, Luke. Have a great day.